Howdy ho, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to this week's episode of Let's Talk Oilers. I guess we could call it the free agent and draft day episode. So lots to talk about this past week. But before we get to any of that, here's a short message. Hey all, just a quick mention here. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment on videos you like. It helps with the YouTube algorithm, which helps me. Takes 2 seconds. So thanks in advance. Alrighty. So we got a ton of stuff to talk about this week. So why don't we start with the draft class? Now, I don't follow the rookie draft like I used to. Back in the 80s and the 90s, I picked up the draft magazines and I was all in. I don't follow it that closely anymore. And we really didn't have very many. Well, we had no first day picks. So the guys we picked up, they're a long shot. We'll put it that way. They're a long shot at best. So first off, we have drafted 223rd overall center Aiden Park. I'm just going to tell you the names and show you the pictures because I know nothing about these guys. Second one we have is Asher Barnett. He's a good distributor and seems to have been looking to create something. He's not big, which to me is a big X. Like, I know the modern game is about speed, but every single freaking time we go down the small man player, they don't work out, especially in the Western League. Like, I just saw Mitch Marner signed with Vegas. I think Mitch Marner is going to get absolutely destroyed in the Western Conference. The Western Conference is significantly bigger and significantly more physical than the Eastern Conference. So what he was doing in Toronto, playing against teams like, Ottawa and Montreal and Columbus, and you don't get those teams. Even the bottom of the pack teams right now, like the Ducks and the Sharks, have monsters on them that will chew you up. So I'm not thrilled that he's not big. But anyway, he's got some muscle to him, apparently. This is from Stephen Ellis on dailyfaceoff.com scouting report. The U18 captain put up modest numbers with USN TDP this year, but this felt like some of his best hockey at the U18s. So his best hockey, and he was drafted so late. I don't, like I say, these are long shots to begin with, so I'm not going to rag on him too much, but doesn't sound like a fit to me. Goalie picked 191st overall, Daniel Salonen. Okay, again, I know nothing about these guys. 191st overall for a goalie isn't that bad. Goalies tend to not be picked until the second and third rounds. So, he might actually be something. We'll see in a few years. They take quite a while to mature. So, all right. We got another scouting report on David Lewandowski. Lewandowski was excellent at the World Juniors, and I thought he was good in Texas, albeit I was hoping for a bit more offense, but his off-puck play was great, at least. He's good around the net, using his muscle to outwork players and get them into scoring lanes. So that's positive, Maybe he doesn't have that finesse touch, but he sounds like he might be a good bottom six player, and Lord knows that's what we were missing in the last Stanley Cup final, is our bottom six guys. Like, here's the paradox for me. If you listen to people like Stauffer and even Gregor, all they do is talk about offense. Well, I want to see our bottom six shut down the opponent's offense. Our top six should be good enough to score, and they do most of our scoring. So I want to see us focus more on defense in our bottom six. Grinders that tire out the opponents, clear out the front of the net so our goalies can see the puck, block shots. These are all things I want to see from our bottom six players. So what I'm reading on this scouting report is this is kind of his wheelhouse. So I have time for this player. Tommy Laferriere. This is not a good report, in my opinion. Early comparison for Tommy Laferriere. Kamloops Blazers forward Tommy Laferriere has turned heads quite often this season. A Central Division NHL scout told Daily Faceoff, think of a smaller Nick Suzuki. Nick Suzuki is already really tiny, and this guy's even smaller. Again, I understand there's this mindset of speed, but size matters, and we saw that in the playoffs yet again. And we've gone down this road with like Yamamoto and other small players who just couldn't hack it. Like, where's Yamamoto now? Is he even in the NHL anymore? Again, size matters. Like, they got to stop picking up these small guys because we're not going to win with small guys. So those were the draft picks the 5 draft picks that I heard of. I didn't watch the draft or anything, so anyway, that's how we're starting. All right, so now to the good stuff. Trent Fredricks signs 8-year extension. Can he replace Kane? Crossing fingers. You know, Kane moved on to Vancouver, and I love Evander Kane. As I said, and I'll link to the last video I did on his move. I love Evander Kane, but he's a marked man by this league. And he doesn't help our team when he goes out on the ice, looks cross-eyed at somebody, and ends up with a 2-minute penalty. Yeah, it's not fair to Evander, but it is the reality of the situation. So Evander had to go. Trent Fredricks was not healthy this past season, and it showed. He did not play anywhere near what he's capable of playing. So hopefully we see a healthy Fredricks come next year. Now, 8-year contract is a big risk. It is, especially for a guy that was injured all last season. But we needed to replace Kane, and we know healthy, he can do that. So I'm actually happy with this signing. He signed, I believe it was for $4 million or 4.5 over 8 years. So it's not a gross overpayment, though some people will say it is. It's not. And if he can be healthy and deliver what he delivered as a healthy Boston Bruin, that's a beautiful signing by Stan Bowman. Okay, now the next signing I'm not a fan of, and you all know why if you watched my last video, but I also knew it was coming. McDavid is a fan of this. So Connor's opinion obviously carries a hell of a lot more weight than some YouTuber. But Evan Bouchard extended 4 years for $10.5 million a season. Now, I don't know if there was a no-trade clause in there. If there's a no-trade clause in there, I think this is an absolute travesty of a signing. If there is no no-trade clause, I can learn to live with it. Now, nobody argues about Bouchard's offense. And especially playing with Leon and Connor, his offensive numbers have been drastically inflated from what his actual skill level is. And I'm sorry, Bob Stauffer, I know he's your boy, whatever the hell that means, but every time we've seen him without McDavid and that, he's not been that good. You know, like once Keith retired and there was that stretch before Ekholm came in, he was a minus 30 player, you know, and he's never been able to play with any other defensive partner than Ekholm. So the way I look at it is we now have $17 million tied up on our top 2 defensemen. And let's be honest, Ekholm is underpaid at 6.5. Ekholm should be up around Darnell money of $9 million. But thankfully he's at 6.5 because That's a lot of money to tie up on two defensemen, especially when one of them, Bouchard, can't play without the other one. But it's a 4-year, so it's not a super long contract. But what does worry me is he signed for 4 years. So the vibe I get is he's doing the Austin Matthews thing, where he's really not interested in winning. He's interested in maximizing his earning potential to an extreme. Every 4 years, he wants a 20-30% bump in his wage. And that's all he's concerned about. So I'm not a fan of this signing. My neighbor's not a fan of the signing. My other neighbor's not a fan of the signing. I honestly, I don't know a single Evan Bouchard fan in real life. I don't. The only people I seem to find that like Bouchard are the media and some online people that, who cares, honestly. Yeah, so anyway, we're going to see. For me, for Evan Bouchard to earn 10.5, I feel he's got to do more than offense. He's has to start playing defense. Just no more of this crap. He's got to start playing his position. That means no more lazy skates when he turns over the puck. He's got to bust his ass to get back and break up his turnover. 2 of the games we lost last year, I blame on him in the finals because he turned over the puck and he just coasted behind the guy with the puck and the guy scored. From what I'm told, Evan Bouchard is one hell of a good skater. One of the best skaters out there is from what I've been told. So there's no excuse for him to just coasting along. Hoping Ekholm, who was struggling so much in the finals, will swoop in and save his butt again. So no, that doesn't fly. Now that you're making 10.5, you have to bust your ass 84 games a season because the season's been lengthened. So no more days off, no more periods off. Every time you're on the ice, you need to bust your ass. The other thing is, and this comes down to Knobloch, if Knobloch is going to continue to use him on the penalty kill, which I don't think he should. Let me be clear right up front. I don't think Evan Bouchard should ever see the ice on a penalty kill. But if Knobloch is going to continue to do it, Bouchard has to start clearing out the front of the net. He has to start blocking shots. And I don't mean his little, ooh. I mean blocking like Nurse, like Kulak, like Ekholm. Blocking shots. Like if you're not willing to block a shot on the PK, get the hell off the ice. Seriously. And he's a big boy, so start using some physical. Like, I'm not saying Evan has to fight, but he's a big boy. Like, he's 6'4". He's not a small little child. So use it. He shouldn't be getting pushed around like he is. He should be the one pushing others around. So that's my take on it. And that's, yeah. I mean, it could have been much worse. But until Bouchard proves he's willing and capable of playing defense nightly, this is truthfully a $2.5 million a season overpayment. It's simple as that to me. Evan Bouchard in this market should be around $8 million a season. I don't care about his offensive stats. We know he can play offense. And let me justify it. I did not want Erik Karlsson. When all the rumor was going on about us signing, I didn't want him either. For the exact same reasons. If you are making $10 million or more, you need to check more than one offensive box. Like everyone bitches about Nurse's contract. And yes, Darnell was overpaid, but that was because of people like Chicago and a couple other teams overpaying for lesser players than Nurse. So Nurse got the boost. He got to 9.25. But Nurse checks offense because before Bouchard was gifted the number one power play, Nurse was a 70-plus point a season defenseman. So he's not far off of Bouchard's numbers regular season. Nurse is physical. Evan is not. Nurse is great on the power or the penalty kill. Evan is not. Nurse is a locker room leader, according to Leon and McDavid and Hyman and everybody else. I've never heard that said about Evan Bouchard by anybody, not even the media that loves him. Nobody said that about him. So you got Nurse checking off 4 boxes. You got Evan checking off 1. Evan has to check off more than 1 box. That's my take on it. You can hate me for it. Evan also said something recently that just pissed me off. He was being interviewed by, I forget who it was doing the interview, and they asked him point blank about his poor defensive skills, which surprised me because usually the media, especially Edmonton media, they avoid that topic like the plague. You know, they don't want to address that. And he replied, I can play defense when I feel like it. I was floored. I was literally screaming at the radio. Why the bleep are you not feeling like it then? Like, that's such a crappy reply. It really is. You were paid, even last year, he was, for the money he was getting, I forget what his contract was last year, but it was still millions. If you're paid millions of dollars, be it 3, 4, 10, 12, you should feel like it every single bloody night. No exceptions. I got to be honest. I think this contract with Evan Bouchard is going to be the #1 target of Oiler fans come the regular season. I think he is going to be like last year, he became kind of a whipping boy. I think that is going to get ramped up tenfold this year if he doesn't change his attitude out there. You know, and I also got to admit, I think Bob Stauffer hurts Evan Bouchard. I'm going to come out and say it right now. I think Bob Stauffer's ultra bias, weird, yeah, that's a polite way of putting it, support of Evan Bouchard causes people to dislike Evan Bouchard because Stauffer refuses to hold Evan Bouchard accountable for anything. And if there's one thing human nature, and it doesn't matter if it's hockey, sports, politics, anything, we don't like when people are not held accountable by the media. So I really do think Bob Stauffer hurts Evan Bouchard. And I think if Bouchard comes out and does the lackadaisical, I don't really feel like playing defense, and that's his word. So let's quote him. I don't really feel like playing today. And Stauffer just covers for him like he's been doing for years now. I think the hatred and anger at Bouchard is going to intensify tenfold. And if that happens, I don't see him re-signing after 4 years. So the other thing about that is I would have been interested to see if there would have been an offer sheet, because I've said since day one, if somebody was dumb enough to offer $11 or $12 million to Bouchard, we should let him walk, because we will never get that return for Evan Bouchard. Like, he could come out and we could trade him in a year. We will not get the return that we would have got if somebody was stupid enough to offer sheet him at $11, $12 million a season. That's just a simple fact. I mean, I know a lot of people throw emotion at everything. I'm just speaking facts here. I don't know Evan Bouchard. He might be a super, super nice guy off the ice. He really well might. I don't know him. I've never met him. Really haven't read much about him off the ice. But that doesn't matter, because we're talking about the Edmonton Oilers and we're talking about on the ice. How nice of a guy is, that doesn't matter. If that mattered, what's his name? Jones. Ryan Jones would still be an Oiler because he was a super nice guy. But he just wasn't good enough to play for the Oilers anymore. But he was a super nice guy that everybody loved. So I think sometimes the media in this town gets distracted with the personality and the friendship they build with these players rather than just looking at what they're doing on the ice. You know, and again, nobody argues about Evan's offense. Everybody argues about his defense except for our media. Our media goes out of their way to try to cover for him. So anyway, we shall see. I don't hold high hopes on it, but we shall see. All right. Kapanen has been extended for 1 year at Now, I said in my last video, I think Kapanen has a spot on the fourth line. Maybe up on the third line, fourth line. Speed and offense that he can bring. It's interesting. Corey Perry signed, and I'll get to that, but Corey Perry signed with LA. With LA. And it was for 3.5. And I said Edmonton was never going to pay him that because Corey Perry doesn't have the speed anymore. And I loved what the grit and the intensity and the experience that Perry bought, but he was only ever going to get a $1 to $1.5 million contract from the Oilers. So good on him for getting 3.5 with the LA Kings. Kapanen, however, has a higher ceiling than Perry does nowadays. Not when Perry was at his prime, obviously, but Perry is almost 41 years old now. So, he's a long way from his prime. And I don't think he's going to fare very well in LA because he's slowing down. We saw that in the finals as well. Perry was slowing down out there. He can't play every night anymore at his top speed. And so all the power to Corey Perry for getting 3.5, but Oilers were never going to pay that. Kapanen, I can live with his. He does have the speed. He's actually not unphysical either, which surprised me because I remembered watching him on the Leafs and he was really soft on the Leafs, but he surprised me last year. He was out there grinding. So that was a good signing, I think, by Bowman. And it's only 1 year, so we're not locked long term. This one's interesting to me. Noah Philp signed for a 1 year, two-way, $775K contract. Now, I suspect if Philp does not get a 30-game tryout on the team this year, the Oilers I'm talking, he will sign with a different team come next year. I think this will be the final year. If the Oilers do not put him up on the NHL team and give him a legitimate chance, which I think, in my opinion, is 30 games or more, not 10, not 20, but 30 games or more, I think he walks to a new team for a new opportunity. So I hope the Oilers give him that chance because I think Noah Phillips could be a third-line center. This year, probably be better to put him on the fourth line and let him learn. But you got to give him, you can't just send him up and down, like Knobloch was doing last year. You have to bring him up and let him play that 30 games. If he's still, after 30 games where he was at the start, you say, okay, we send you down and he goes to a new team next year. It's an experiment. It failed. We move on. But I think there's a player in Noah Phillips. But he's got to be given the chance by Knobloch. It's that simple. This one. John Klingberg signs with the San Jose Sharks. 1 year, $4 million. I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. Klingberg and Bouchard. If you're keeping Bouchard, Klingberg becomes expendable. If we had allowed Bouchard to be offer sheeted and let him walk, then we would have probably kept Klingberg we would have probably paid him the $4 million to keep him because he did a lot of what Bouchard does. Maybe not at the same level, but a lot of what Bouchard does. Between Klingberg and Wallman, those two players absolutely replace Evan Bouchard and then some. So yeah, he signed with the San Jose Sharks. I wish him well. I was not in favor of signing him to begin with, and I will happily eat crow on that one. He did far better than I expected from him. So don't anyone ever say I'm not willing to admit when I'm wrong. He was far better than I expected. So best of luck, John Klingberg. This one hurts me. I like Connor Brown. I do. Connor Brown signs with the New Jersey Devils 4 years at $3 million. Okay, Edmonton was never going to give him that. They might have given him $3 million, but they wouldn't have given him the 4-year term. So I'm not surprised he left. I'm just, I liked Connor Brown. I liked the intensity he brought, the passion he brought. This past year, he wasn't as effective in the playoffs as he was the season before. But I'm not sure that was Brown, because I noticed Henrique also dropped way down from what he did the season before. So, it just may have been personnel, and Brown just couldn't overcome it. So, again, I wish Connor Brown all the best in New Jersey. I don't blame him at all for taking a 4-year contract. He wasn't going to get that with the Oilers. Okay. We also lost a coach. Coach Glen Guletzan announced as the new Dallas Stars head coach. Now, I don't know a lot about Guletzan because he was the Flames coach when they weren't really very good. And then he was the Oiler assistant coach, and the assistant coaches really don't like. Coffey gets some attention because, he's Paul Coffey. But otherwise, assistant coaches don't get a lot of press here in Edmonton. So I only know what Stauffer and them say, and they all got praises, but they're not. One of my annoyances of the Edmonton media is they don't really get critical and dig deep on a lot of these guys. Like, they fluff it. They do a lot of fluff pieces. So, I wish him well. If I was him, I definitely would have taken the head coaching job too. Like, that's a massive upgrade. So, yeah, best of luck. But I don't know what else to say. The one thing I did hear, I believe it was Jason Greger that said it a number of days ago, is this opens up for Knobloch, because when Knobloch came in, he was handed his assistant coaches. He didn't get to choose them. So this now allows Knobloch to start filling in the positions with people he wants. Now, the danger of that is if it doesn't work, he's held responsible directly. But it's his team, so you got to give him that freedom to live or die on his sword. He's earned the chance to create his environment that he wants to create. I guess that's the best way to say it. So best of luck to Glen Guletzan, and we shall see what Knobloch and Bowman have in store for us with a new assistant coach. We got some minor league signings as well. Riley Stillman, defenseman, signed 2-year at $775 NHL, $475 AHL, two-way contract. He's the son of retired NHLer Cory Stillman. Riley's mostly a career AHLer, but he might be a serviceable 6-7 defenseman on the Oilers. And really, that's about all there is to say about him. We signed a goalie, Matt Tommins. Again, a 2-year contract, $775 NHL and $400K AHL, 2 years, two-way deal. He's an AHL depth signing. We did not qualify Rodrigue, so this will replace him. He had some decent number. He had a .907 save percentage, but he only appeared in 36 AHL games last year. So I don't know. Like I say, I don't follow the AHL. I don't follow the juniors like I used to. So yeah. So anyway, that's... Oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention, it's not on ice. Zak Kassian is no longer a scout for the Oilers in Ontario. Oilers part ways with pro scout Zak Kassian after one season. Kassian, 34, joined the Oilers front office after retiring from pro hockey ahead of last season, working out of the Ontario region. It marked the former rough and tumble winger's first forte into the other side of the hockey world following a 12-year NHL stint. I loved Kassian as a player. I really did. I like those type of players. One of my favorite players of all time. And I know this is sacrilege for any Oiler fan to say, but I loved Joel Otto when he was on the Flames. I loved him. So I love the physical grinding. I love Evander Kane. Same thing. And I'm really in the ballpark of wanting to love Trent Fredricks because they're those grinder, physical, in your face. These are the wingers I love. If you're not a big scoring winger, these are the wingers I want to see. So, and Kassian retired, so it was cool that the Oilers gave him a job. But I don't know what he did out there. So, apparently they felt it wasn't enough and they parted ways. So best of luck to Zach, and I hope he can find another team to pick him up. Alrighty, let's do the end of this. So I was listening to Jason Greger the other day, or actually, sorry, earlier today. And he had a clip out where somebody wrote in saying that if the Oilers do not get a goalie, McDavid will not re-sign with the Oilers. Now, I think that's completely false. I think that's that person's opinion. I don't think there is any evidence that that's the case. And I think most likely that guy writing in comes from Toronto, because Toronto media and fan base are desperate to try to believe that Connor McDavid is going to sign in Toronto. So first off, I think Connor McDavid will re-sign with the Oilers. I think he wants a goalie upgrade, but he understands that, if we can't do it now, it may have to come next year. It's slim pickings out there. I've heard 3 names that I'd be interested in and a bunch that I would not be interested in. So the ones I've heard, the number one name I'm interested in now, I don't know if St. Louis re-signed him, but Joel Hofer is open for an offer sheet, and that would be sweet karma if we offer sheeted St. Louis starting goalie and stole him from them. They took Broberg and what's his name? Holloway. We take Hofer. And that would be my first choice because he's young and I think he can be an excellent top goalie for a team. Now, I don't think the Oilers need a bona fide Bobrovsky or what's his name in Tampa. I don't think we need that level of goalie. I think we can get by with a AA goalie rather than a AAA goalie. I think Skinner and Pickard, as I've said before, are excellent backup goalies. Well above average. I'm actually scared that if we sign a top goalie and we try to send Pickard down to the farm, I don't think he'll clear waivers. I really don't. I think we will lose him. But I don't think we can realistically enter the season with Skinner and Pickard again, because I don't think they can be the effective starters. They can be ultra effective backups, but I think they fall just a little short of being the top level starter. So Joel Hofer would be my first pick. Like I said, I don't know if St. Louis got a contract and signed him, but if he's still open for an offer sheet, I'd love for the Oilers to make an offer sheet on him. The other 2 names I've heard is Swayman and Demko in Vancouver. Both are going to cost us if we trade for them. If we can get them, it's going to cost us. And Demko comes with injury concerns. But I think Skinner is good enough that he can cover for Demko for, if he needs to, for 30 games if he needs to. I think Skinner's problem is he wears out over the whole season. And he breaks down when things get really, really tough. He kind of reminds me, and this is going to sound sacrilege, but he kind of reminds me of Campbell in that regard. Is when it gets really, really tough, he starts making mistakes, just like Campbell did. Now, obviously, Skinner's got a much higher ceiling than Campbell had, but yeah, that's how I look at it. So I would love to go after Joel Hofer. I would not object to getting either Swayman or Demko. But like I said, Swayman and Demko will cost us. And they will cost us a lot. Make no mistake about it. But they're great goalies. They're great goalies. And that should stop any of this nonsense of constantly blaming the goalie, because I don't blame Skinner or Pickard for the Stanley Cup final loss. I blame Bouchard more than anything. I blame Knobloch for putting Bouchard on the penalty kill, but mostly I blame the team in front of Skinner and Pickard because they played like absolute crap in the final series. They really did. There's just no way around it. Top to bottom, it was not a good performance, and Skinner and Pickard got exposed because of it. A team is more than just one position. And I find Oiler fans tend to forget that. So anyway, so I think this guy's out to lunch that McDavid won't re-sign without a starter goalie. He probably wants one, for sure. I think we all do. But I think he's realistic enough to know that if management says they're going to try to get one, they're going to try to get one. It may take a while. He's not going to hold them hostage over it. He just wants the assurance that they're going to go for it. So that's my opinion on that. The other thing I want to mention is the Toronto stuff. Toronto media and their fan base are so freaking desperate to believe the lie that Connor McDavid wants to play in Toronto. Connor McDavid has been crystal clear from day one. He wants to win, and he wants to go to the place that gives him the best chance to win. Right now, that's Edmonton. Edmonton or the Panthers. Those are your top two teams. He's on the Oilers already. He's got Leon beside him. Connor's going to re-sign in Edmonton. I think he's going to re-sign for 4 to 8 years. And it's probably going to be $15-16 million. But he's going to re-sign in Edmonton. And then after the 4 years or to 8 years, if we haven't won the cup by then, it's anyone's guess. I wouldn't be surprised if he walks and goes to another top contender. But it's not going to be the Leafs. They're not a top contender, contrary to what the Toronto media keeps telling us. They're not. They are built to be a regular season team. And they're in a weak conference. So they get to beat up on weak teams in the regular season, and then they collapse in the playoffs. And we've seen it year after year after year after year. Connor's not going there. He may be a hometown boy from Ontario, and maybe it is his dream to win a cup with the Leafs, but you got to have the team to do that. And Toronto will never win with Austin Matthews. Simple as that. It's just done. So, yeah, it's Connor. Like I said, I think Connor will resign with the Oilers for 4 to 8 years, and it'll be $15-16 million. And yeah, I think all he needs is the reassurance from Bowman that they are going to go after a new starter goalie. I don't think he's going to hold the team up hostage. I think he just needs that commitment from management. And I think management has given him that commitment. But if there's nothing out there, you can't magically make it, appear. And you cannot ruin the franchise going after Swayman or Demko if the asking prices are too high. That doesn't help them either. So, yeah, that's how I see it. Anyway, that's how what I wanted to address there. If you like this video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. I always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everybody to leave a comment, especially on a video like this where there's so much to talk about. But yeah, leave a comment. It gets us interacting, and it really does help me with the YouTube algorithm. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.